Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure I am up and I am seeing green. Alright, I'm seeing green, so I'm going to take it as an act of faith that I am up. Alright, good. I'm seeing myself moving. Let me check sound before I go on, because again, sometimes sound drops in between takes. Alright. The world is fucking awesome. Every so often, I will see an article, and I'm left with this feeling of, oh my god, this is the stupidest person alive. Now, I don't like calling people stupid. Hate it. I think it's somewhat offensive to call somebody stupid. I don't like this idea of calling somebody an idiot. But I'm stuck with a dilemma. That there are some times where the word fits, where it's not just descriptive, it's just accurate, where objective reality, looking at a particular thing, comes out where 100 people will look at this and 75 would say, yeah, that's pretty stupid. That's pretty stupid. That's multiple layers and levels of stupid. I have one such video from MSNBC. Now, the stupidity from this is not necessarily because the guy is an idiot, more so because the guy is a hack. He's a hack. That's what it boils down to. I love the word hack. I love the way it rolls off the tongue. And in this case, it fits magnificently well. What's been going on has been a conversation or a debate on whether or not a memo should be released. Now, the U.S. House Intelligence Committee Chair, Devin Nunes, believes that it should be released. He's saying that this shows impropriety in the Justice Department itself, and that there was bias against Donald Trump in the way that they were going about the affairs of the Justice Department, that there was somewhat of a witch hunt. And his argument is, this document clears Donald Trump. Now, that's a pretty magnificent claim. Seeing as I don't necessarily think you have a huge basis for this case in the first place. But whatever. He's making the argument that this is politically motivated, and that this particular document that they have, this memo, shows impropriety within the way the FBI or the way the intelligence community went about its affairs in regards to the Hillary Clinton case and in regards to the spying on Donald Trump. Now, if this does what they say it does, you have to release it. How can you not release it? They've spent a year and a half screaming about this Trump dossier. They've just come out saying, we have another dossier! We have another dossier! We have other independent confirmation that this prostitute peed on the bed. It was peed on. That was the pee on dossier. We have a second dossier. We have somebody else pointing from the shadows that Donald Trump got peed on, or Donald Trump paid somebody to pee on Obama's old bed. If they're bringing out this much content, they're dropping all of this stuff without this stuff being verified or confirmed. Essentially, it was political opposition research. How are you bitching about a memo that's coming out that is trying or attempting to defend against the claims that are being made against the President of the United States? If you spend a year screaming that there's something with Trump and Russia, and the Republican Party, the party who this is going against, is saying, well, wait a minute. We have the opportunity to clear our name here. We have something that says that this is showing that this investigation is somewhat of a political witch hunt and is not what they're saying it is. Then they have to show that. They have to show it. If people need to be able to evaluate whether or not it does what they say it does, because it's a pretty big claim. Now, that being said, I've made this argument that their claim is not without merit. Republican Party may be a bunch of hacks. Democratic Party may be a bunch of hacks. But what they're saying is not without merit. I mean, you have one person who was working on the investigation. His wife got $500,000. And the person was instrumental in dealing with this Trump and Russia investigation. You have another case where the person who cleared Hillary Clinton's name, or was able to get the charges or the language in the document that Comey eventually produced, written in a way where it undermined charges that would have potentially been filed under the original language that the document essentially allowed, Stroyce. And then being the same guy who, if I'm not mistaken, on the same day or around the exact same time, gets an official investigation kicked off into Trump and Russia. They find this exact same guy who was instrumental in making sure Clinton walked and instrumental in making sure that the charges or the Trump-Russia collusion thing was pushed in against Donald Trump, was sending off tweets or sending off communications with his illicit lover, the woman he was cheating on his wife with, saying how much he hated Donald Trump. This is not even in the memo. This is what's already known and what's already available. That guy who's working in coordination, that was working in this way, instrumental in both of these pivotal cases. One, helping getting Clinton off, and two, helping getting Donald Trump to be on the hook for this thing. McCabe, the guy whose wife got $500,000 from the Clinton campaign or from people who are elements of the Clinton campaign, that guy also worked with that particular guy. Like, just because Republicans are hacks, it doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is wrong. Meaning, in this very particular case, you've accused the President of the United States of working with a foreign power to undermine this country. Are you telling me that the President of the United States doesn't get the chance to clear his name? And the FBI coming out saying we have grave concerns and all this other stuff. Well, the FBI at this point is also a political actor. Because if the charges are right or the accusations are correct, the FBI was being used as a political hatchet in order to attack one of the candidates. That candidate being Donald Trump. Now, this is what's surrounding this. So I wanted to chop a little bit to explain that. In my other video, I went more into detail and some of the stuff surrounding this. But just as a basic snapshot thumbnail of the argument that's been taking place on whether or not they should release it or not. That's essentially the thing that's surrounding it. There are several things that you can say about Nunes. Nunes is the person who wrote the memo. Nunes is the person, the chair of the Intelligence Committee for the Republican Party. And this is the guy who essentially wrote the memo, and this is the guy who's releasing the memo. Donald Trump is going to approve this release, and this memo is going to go out into the public. You could say that the guy's a hack. You can say that the guy is not showing all of the information that's available. You can say the guy is trying to mislead the public with certain information that's being revealed versus certain information that's not being revealed. There's all sorts of things that you can say in order to bolster Mueller and to attack this idea that Donald Trump got railroaded or that Hillary Clinton was let off the hook. There are all sorts of adjectives and things that you can use that may be accurate, that don't necessarily obfuscate or don't necessarily outright lie. There are plenty of things that you can say. There's also stupid things that you can say. What I'm going to show you is one of the items from MSNBC where the person says something dramatically stupid. And listen to the response from the person that he's talking to. I suspect that the person he's talking to was somewhat surprised by what he was being asked. But what he was being asked jumps the crazy train. It goes so far into stupid that it's multiple layers of stupid. It's layered upon layer of stupidity. It jumps the shark from calling something a hack. And, well, I'm going to just show it. Let's just take a look at this. So this is MSNBC.
Is it possible that the Republican chairman of the House Intel Committee has been is it possible that the Republican chairman of the House Intel Committee has been compromised by the Russians? Is it possible that they actually have a Russian agent running the House Intel Committee on the Republican side?
I hope you heard that. And just so you can hear it again, just because I'm going to play it. It's a quick clip, but let's play it again.
I hope that's not the case.
Is it possible that the Republican chairman of the House Intel Committee has been compromised by the Russians? Is it possible that they actually have a Russian agent running the House Intel Committee on the Republican side?
I hope that's not.
I hope that's not true. Yeah, you heard them right. He asked them, this guy, this talking head with the frown, that's scowling right here because I think he realizes, oh my God, I just said something dramatically stupid. That guy just asked another human being whether or not the Republican who's Nunes, the one who's chair of the House Intelligence Committee, if that guy is a Russian agent because that guy wants to release a document rebuffing some of the claims that are being made against Donald Trump. If you're defending Donald Trump, I mean, clearly you're a Russian agent, right? If you're, I mean, shit, man. If you're defending him, why else would anybody defend their president? Why else would anybody do that? I mean, if a Republican is defending Donald Trump, certainly he's not a hack. He's not anything else. He's a treasonous Russian agent that's subverting democracy itself, or subverting American ideals and American democracy. I mean, this is what we're being told. This is jumping the shark. This is massively jumping the fucking shark. A Russian agent? Is that where we're at? Let's take a look at this again. Look at his face when he asks, and look at the response of the other guy. I hope that's not true. What do you mean you hope it's not true? This sounds like a birther question. This sounds like a birther question. Do you believe that Nunes is a Russian agent because Nunes wants to release a memo that Nunes and the Republican Party is saying shows that the FBI was behaving inappropriately and in somewhat of a corrupt way in favor of one of the other campaigns? Certainly he has to be a Russian agent if he's doing that. Let's say this again.
Is it possible that the Republican chairman of the House Intel Committee has been compromised by the Russians? Is it possible that they actually have a Russian agent running the House Intel Committee on the Republican side?
I hope that's not the case.
I think the saddest part to that, outside of the whole host of stupid that you got from, I think the guy's name is Hallerman, is the response. Like, and I understand he's probably put on the spot, but the only answer to that is no. I don't believe that the House Intelligence Chair for the Republican Party is a Russian agent. I don't think he's a Russian plant because he wants to release information. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. I mean, this is something they had on open air on MSNBC, said with a straight face, with one human being looking at another human being in the face, asking this question on live air. Do you believe that the House Intelligence Chair, who has a document or has a memo that he wants to release, trying to clear Donald Trump's name, or at the very least trying to show that the investigation into Donald Trump was done so in unfair ways, do you believe that guy, just by virtue of him wanting to release that, is a Russian agent? Like I said, there's a whole host of stupid. There's a whole host of stupid. Yeah, that's a whole host of stupid. The memo has cherry-picked evidence to clear Trump, Rodney Jackson. And you're telling me that the Trump dossier wasn't necessarily this cherry-picked information that was put out there in order to attack Donald Trump? It's what politicians do. But the question is, the honest question is, meaning, you can dislike Trump. I don't particularly like Trump at all. But you have to be honest. You have all this stuff where people are getting bribes. You have all of these people around investigations, either clearing Clinton's name or implicating Donald Trump in this stuff. And all of these things have Clinton ties. Either these people seem to be in the bag for Hillary Clinton, or they seem to be against Donald Trump. And with information like that available, are you telling me that there's no impetus here, or there's no credibility whatsoever? Meaning, to any degree that's actually possible, to any real reality in this case, are you telling me that reality precludes any chance at all of Democrats acting in ways or politicizing these organizations in a way that would be against one of the candidates? Because I got to be honest, it seems as if those organizations were being politicized. Now, you can say that this information was cherry-picked. I think that's a sane response. I think their response makes perfect sense. I think if I was somebody who was against the release of this memo, like if I was the FBI and I didn't necessarily want accusations coming out that I myself was being corrupted or I myself was being used as a political tool, then yeah, I think that's a sane response. Well, look, he's cherry-picking information in order to try to clear Donald Trump's name. Okay. Whether we agree or disagree, I don't know what's in the memo. But do you believe that the guy is a Russian plant for wanting to release the memo? You can say the guy's a political hack. Fair enough. You can say that the guy's trying to clear Trump's name. Fair enough. You can say that's a strip. You can say all sorts of things to defend the idea of not releasing the memo or to attack the idea that Donald Trump is trying to release the memo. But be honest, Rodney. Do you believe that the U.S. House Intelligence member for the Republican Party that's releasing this memo, that the only reason that's possible that this guy is releasing the memo is because he's a Russian agent? Is that what you're telling me? Is that you can't be saying, like, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like, I will totally give you, I would totally say that it's perfectly fair to say that the Republican Party has a dog in the hunt. Meaning, yeah, of course they're going to act like politicians because they just so happen to be politicians. So if you're going to say that this was politician going to try to find ways to stop you from taking their guy out of office, then the answer, of course, is yes. Does that mean that they're going to use the powers at their disposal to do that? That answer, of course, is yes. Do you believe that the other party would do the same thing? Meaning, do you believe that with Obama in office, having control of the Justice Department, that he would not act in ways that would try to help or advantage his person? And that answer, of course, is yes. There is no way that you could look at this fairly and say that one side would use the political apparatus to their ends, but the other side in no way would use the political apparatus to their ends. Come on, be fair. And beyond anything else, you could think all of these people are the worst people in the world. Do you believe he's a Russian agent? Do you believe he's a Russian agent? That's the point I'm getting at. There can be debates on policy. There can be debates on whether or not this should be released. There could be even debates on whether or not there's legitimacy to it. Meaning, you could say, yes, I want this release. And after it's released, still saying, yeah, but that doesn't show what they say this shows. These guys are saying that this is supposed to clear Donald Trump's name. This doesn't clear Donald Trump's name. This doesn't show what they say it shows. You could even say that, yes, it shows a little bit of corruption in the sense of the FBI. It shows that these guys look like they were leaning a particular way. But no, in no way does it clear Donald Trump's name. There are so many things under the sun that you can have a conversation about. Is one of those conversations, and be honest, it's one of those conversations that Nunez, that the reason he's releasing this is because he's potentially a Russian agent. And that Vladimir Putin has a wind-up doll in Congress that he's going to go out there and release this memo. That the only reason that that would take place is if Vladimir Putin had his hands into the political apparatus to such a degree that he also was manipulating individual Republican members of Congress. If that's not part of the discussion, which I think is stupid, I gotta be honest. Like I said, I think this is multiple levels of stupid. Then you have to ask the question, why is he saying it? Is he saying it because he means it? Meaning, does he actually believe that this guy is a Russian plant? Or is he a political hack? Or is he a political hack? I don't think, I can't think of his name. I've seen his book before. This was a guy who wrote Game Change. I don't think the guy is flamboyantly stupid in this way. So I think he's a political hack. I think he has his team. He's on MSNBC. He has his talking points, and he's out there delivering his talking points. And it's camouflaging this talking point in the form of a question. Is it possible? Is it possible? Is there a chance? Has Vladimir Putin also instigated himself into a House member, Nunez? I mean, hell, let's not even go for Vladimir Putin. Let's say that Nunez has a microchip inside of his head. Fuck it. Take the wheels off. Take the chains off. If you're going to go that far and say we have a Russian agent, let's say he's a robot. Let's say he's not even a person. Let's say Nunez was killed jogging to McDonald's one morning and was replaced with a robot and has been essentially being hand operated by a Russian agent. One of the same Russian agents that wrote those Facebook ads. Fuck it. Take the wheels off. I can pull stuff out my ass with the best of them. I can pull stuff out my ass with the best of them. CIA hack tools can make anyone look like a Russian agent online. And that's the other one, Sergeant Hayes. Yeah. People forget that. Like, WikiLeaks comes out with information showing that the CIA built an NSA inside the CIA. And it's like, what? What? You built an NSA. You had all these hacking tools because you didn't want to deal with the CIA. Now, is this right? No, the CIA built an NSA inside the CIA because they didn't want to deal with the NSA, meaning they didn't want to share information across those wires. Essentially, they wanted that stuff in-house. They wanted to keep that stuff secretive and in-house. So they had hacking tools in order to break into these different computers and these networks. In some cases, breaking into people's televisions, so the television is watching them while they're watching the television. In other cases, having backdoors into all of these computer systems and software. Yeah. I mean, if you have the capacity to hack into people's systems and then make it look as if somebody else did the hacking, then all bets are off. All bets are off. How can you say that this was quote-unquote Russia or Germany or China or anybody else at this point when you know that governments around the world have the capacity to mimic other governments around the world, meaning certain tactics or signatures that are associated with the way people do hacking, so maybe even the area that the area or the place was hacked, that these guys have the capacity to leave signatures behind that looks as if they were coming from another actor. How on earth can you point the finger at this point when you know that that information is out there? Meaning those tools are out. And do you honestly believe that those tools are only available to the United States? I do not believe that. I don't believe that. So, unlikely ally. If Trump approved giving Russian uranium, let's pretend no donations for speeches. And Clinton never did. And the same people defending Clinton will crucify Trump. It's all partisan tribal BS. Agreed. Agreed. But look, you can see this in the Maddow coverage. Rachel Maddow, Keith Olbermann, when George Bush was in office. And they're pissed. They hate George Bush. Oh man, lefty as a lefty can be when George Bush is in office. Obama gets in office. And the wars that they were so upset about, the killings that they were so upset about, the murders that they were so upset about, the tax cuts that they were so upset about, went away. These were not things that bugged them and plagued their soul in the way it bugged and plagued their soul under George Bush. When Obama took office, they went away. They shut the fuck up about those things. Donald Trump gets in office, and all of a sudden, these are big issues again. These are big issues again. This is partisan BS. It's partisan BS. Let's see. Jesse Haffer, amen, exactly. I always have to ask, what the fuck has Russia gained since Trump got elected? Yeah, what has he gained? Jeff Hafner, he's continued abiding on the buildup on the Russian border in Eastern Europe, where it's benefit. Yeah. It's like they're pretending as if all of this stuff, Russia's getting all these benefits. This stuff is just purely for political lens. Ronnie Scott, that's my point, Jay Scott. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, but people have become delusional. What did Jay Scott say? Hating Hillary does not mean making excuses for Trump. Jay Scott, that's true. That's true. That is amazingly true. I agree. I try not to do that. I try to skate this line of, if there's something that I agree with, then I agree with. Meaning, if Trump kills the TPP, I like the fact that Trump killed the TPP, so I'm going to say, yes, good job on killing the TPP. If Trump is murdering civilians, then I'm going to hate Trump's guts for murdering civilians. I try to be consistent. I don't think I try to cover for Trump on this. I do try to cover for him if it's something that I think is bogus. I think the Russian thing is bogus. Like it's one thing, if you tell me that Donald Trump has some kind of business tie with Russia, fair enough. I can believe that. I can totally believe it. The guy's in real estate development and all that stuff. I can believe that. If you're telling me that he was working with Vladimir Putin to hack the election, then no, I don't believe that. Because I haven't seen anything to denote that took place. It just depends on what it is. Yeah, I have plenty of videos attacking Trump. I find this to be obfuscation. That's my issue with this. I find this to be obfuscation. It's like they're using this purely as something in order to to not talk about other issues, because other issues plague and bother the party itself, meaning they can't have those conversations. Because they can't have those conversations, we get Trump in Russia, and people buy into it, and they fall in line, and they just take the Kool-Aid that they're drinking and just go along with it. So I think you can have both. I think you can attack both. Like, you can be in a position of saying, and I've seen people do that. So I've seen people do the thing of bolstering Trump with the idea that they're pivoting against Democrats and they believe they need Godzilla to fight King Kong, that type of stuff. He's gross. He's gross. Like, I don't like this. He's gross, man. I don't like this idea of bolstering him in this way. That being said, just from an integrity standpoint, however, if it's something that's bogus, you should be able to call it bogus. It's bogus. Call it bogus. Rodney Jackson, you can't make that determination yet. And Rodney, to be fair, yes, that's true. My argument has always been, until I actually see something that's coming out saying that this tether existed, then I don't believe it. There's too much political motive behind Democrats using this particular story to attack Trump on this way. That's why. Now, they've screamed about this for a year and a half. They keep saying, we have this evidence. We have this mythical evidence. They never show the evidence. You have to take our word for it. And so, am I just going to take their word for it when they haven't been able to demonstrate it? No. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And I got to be honest, I don't think you should either. It's one thing if you say, I'm ambiguous about the topic, I don't necessarily know whether he did or not, etc., etc. But I am not blindly just kind of going with this thing. I am more inclined to believe it's a leak as opposed to a hack. So, yeah, Lisa Hauserman, Jamal, I hate to sound like a broken record here, but the veteran intelligence professionals for Sanity have proved there was no hack at the DNC. It was a leak. The speed was too fast. So, yes, Lisa, I agree with you. And this is, again, kind of why I hit on this thing that I believe it was a leak, not a hack. The speeds that this stuff was downloaded, when they analyzed the data and they were looking at how fast the information was being downloaded, they found that the speeds were indicative of a download, not a hack. Like, it wasn't somebody from Russia that was hacking into it and pulling files. And, you know, it's like, how fast were those files being downloaded? And if the speeds of those files were downloaded at such a rate that it excludes or precludes this idea of it being a hack, meaning the speeds were commensurate with somebody putting in a USB port and downloading a file, as opposed to somebody being across a wire and downloading a file. The time it would take to download a file across a wire is different than the speed it would take to just download a file from a local drive. Their investigations, and there were multiple, but there were investigations, came up with this thing of saying, yeah, this wasn't a leak. This wasn't a hack. This was a leak. And not just not a hack, but it was also doctored to make it look as if Russia was the culprit behind it. So, I am more in that camp until I see something otherwise. Up to this point, these guys have screamed at the top of their lungs about Trump and Russia, and they act as if the volume of their screaming was somehow evidence. It's like being in a foreign country and you believe if you scream at the person that they're going to understand English. You haven't demonstrated anything, and the volume of your voice in no way makes your case. No way makes the case. So yes, Lisa, I agree. Elephant on coke. At worst, Russia hacked Hillary to influence the election, expose Hillary's corruption. So at worst, Hillary and the DNC are still corrupt. And there's the other shoe to drop. So the argument here is that Russia hacked the DNC, releasing information that was factually true and accurate about corruption in the Hillary Clinton campaign and the corruption in the DNC. Some of that corruption being the DNC hacking, or not hacking, but cheating and rigging the election against Bernie Sanders. You're actually trying to get me to give two shits about the fact that you're complaining that Russia cheated us, while at the same token revealing that you cheated Bernie Sanders. The truth of the matter is, even if it was somewhat of a hack, even if somebody released that information, ultimately you're making the argument that the information was important enough that people looked at it and they recoiled in horror, like, oh my God, I can't vote for that woman, this woman is horrible. Meaning the information was relevant to their voting. This information wasn't superfluous. The information was relevant to the decision that they were going to make when they went to vote. The necessity of the information, the fact that the information impeached her testimony, her credibility, made it, I would say, valid information. It was useful. It was productive to the election itself, if you want to say it that way. Whether or not it was the distinguishing thing that made Hillary Clinton lose, I think Hillary Clinton lost on all merits. Did that hurt? Yes. But the reason that it hurt is because they were fucking corrupt. It was corrupt. It was the corruption that hurt. It wasn't the fact that the information was released. It was the fact that the information about the corruption was released. It's like, how dare you release this information showing that we cheated Bernie Sanders? How dare you do that? You bastards. It's like, you bastards. Rodney Jackson, I don't believe that the Democrats are worth saving. Well, Rodney, on that part, I think we agree. I think we agree. I don't get me wrong, man. I get your point. You're making this case of, look, to be fair, we don't know one way or the other. Donald Trump is absolutely fucking gross, and in no way should anybody kind of bolster him just because they dislike Democrats. And I agree with you. I agree with the key point. I guess the question becomes, what's that range? Like, where... Look, any conversation that you have about this idea of latitude or anything else is going to be subjective. Like, what something is latitude to me is going to be a little bit different to you. So when I look at this and I say, well, it seems like they're using this purely to obfuscate from the reasons why they failed in the election, and I don't want this country positioned against Russia in this way, and of all the things that plague us, those issues are internal. I don't like the Russia thing coming into this particular mix because I don't think it plays into the mix. So for me, it makes perfect sense to say, I think this is bogus. I think this is bogus. Now, somebody else may look at the exact same thing and say, I greatly dislike Donald Trump, and I don't want to bolster Donald Trump in any scenario. And if we're in any way saying something that defends him in any degree, meaning even if your point of this is not necessarily defending Trump, but kind of getting across the bogusness of the claim, that even that is too far of a bridge to climb on this, then yeah, we disagree on the latitude. I care more about just being honest about it. It's very possible that these guys are look, all of these people are political actors. So that's the first point. Meaning all of these people have dogs in the hunts. Democrats have reasons to do the things that they're doing. Republicans have reasons to do the things that they're doing. Let's stop pretending that these reasons are good reasons. Oftentimes these things are done purely for political ends. Trump and Republicans are trying to save his ass. Democrats are trying to take his ass out that office. The reality of this, however, is that this takes all the air out of the room. So the main issues that need to come up and they need to be talked about, meaning, why did Democrats fail to reality shows? That's off the table. To the degree that that's off the table, when the next election comes around, the next election is a referendum on Donald Trump. The next election is not on getting anything accomplished at that point. The public has been scared and pissed off long enough and been strung along with this Trump and Russia thing long enough where the idea that Democrats would have to actually represent anything is off the table. You've been able to just say Trump and Russia for 2 years, still believing that you're going to be able to have a wave election in 2018 and taking the Senate and the House without making any fundamental changes to the way the party operated. I think that is a travesty. If you're going to say something that's benefiting Donald Trump, this is kind of my point. I don't think me saying the Trump and Russia thing benefits Trump. My point in this is, don't let these guys off the hook in this way. Don't let these guys completely obfuscate and skate and moonwalk on their own failures. It takes up all the air out of the room. Not to mention, I still think it's bogus. I think it's bogus. Did Bernie say anything yesterday besides the usual Bernie speech? So I heard half of Bernie Sanders' speech. I kind of skipped through it. I mean, mostly in his rebuttal, I think he talked about this thing of somebody said he mentioned Trump and Russia, so I'm pretty sure that was probably also in there. But I heard him also make this rebuttal of Donald Trump said this during the election, and this is what he's done. making this comparison between this is the rhetoric versus the actual record. This is what he said, this is what he did. This is what he said, this is what he did. This is what he said, and here's another failure in regards to what he did. He is not living up to what he said during the campaign trail. He's failing you, and he has lied to you. That was bare bones of his rebuttal speech. So, yeah. Bernie dropped real facts, no platitudes, no clapping every 20 seconds. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was no fluff. It was this kind of no chaser rebuttal. Donald Trump said he was going to do this for the workers, and he said he wasn't going to go after Social Security and Medicare. They're going after Social Security and Medicare. Donald Trump said the rich weren't going to benefit. He's giving 84% of the gains in that gross tax heist to the top 1%. Yeah, Bernie Sanders. I like the guy. I like the guy. And as Bob Ramirez said, Bernie Sanders' speech, Russia, Russia, and Russia. That wasn't his entire speech, Bob. That wasn't his entire speech. That's a shame. Why does he hop onto the Russian bullshit? I can't tell if he actually believes it or if he's playing the game. Doesn't matter. I mean, I gotta be honest, I don't know which one is worse. If he believes it or if he's playing the game. And I gotta be honest, it may be a little bit of both. Like, whether or not there's a reality to the Russian thing may be besides the point. You may not even have to take that extra step of making that determination of whether there's something to it. If your goal is to take up political space, then you take up political space. You find whatever you can to hit that person over the head with. In this case, this thing is Russia and Trump. Now, Sanders does something extra on this, though. Sanders also brings up issues of economics, income inequality, and plutocrats running roughshod over the population. And so he brings up more topics. He's not held to that particular standard where Democrats can't get out of that box. Meaning they can't have those conversations that deal with income inequality and economics and stuff like that. They're too bought to have those conversations. Bernie Sanders can. So it becomes a fundamental difference in the way that he talks. He may bring up Russia, but he's also bringing up this other stuff. When they talk, they're just bringing up Russia and Trump. It's a massive difference in those things. It's a massive difference in those things. But I don't know whether he believes it or not. And I don't know if there is even value in knowing whether he believes it. Like, I don't even know if he goes to the second step of making a determination whether it's true or not. Simon and Garfunkel. This seems so petty. I mean, the United States has destroyed Iraq, Libya, Syria, and more. And yeah, and it's taking aim at Iran. And it's taking aim at Iran. And openly, mind you, with the Syria thing. I mean, overtly giving money to terrorists to undermine that government. Like, that's an amazing admission. Like, you have these guys literally saying, we're giving money to terrorists in order to go to another country to try to topple that particular country, using some of the techniques in the same way that we use those techniques against Gaddafi. Having these kind of roving band of terrorists to create this kind of unrest, and then you can use some kind of pretext to go in under this kind of humanitarian cause. If it wasn't for Russia backing up Syria, they would probably topple that government too, and the fuckfest that you see in Libya would also probably be in Syria right now. Aw, Elephant on Coke. Buy your wife a coffee. Thanks for your work. Elephant on Coke, thanks you for your donation. Guys, I appreciate your, the patrons, the super cash. I appreciate all of it. You're an immense help, particularly with regards to supporting the content. And it helps tremendously to keep this operation up and running. So, thank you very much. Elephant on Coke, thank you. I appreciate it. And I will buy her a coffee. I will buy more than a coffee. I'll buy more than a coffee. MN, if HRC devotees don't hear Russia, Bernie will never get their vote. He needs their votes. He's a smart politician, Bernie 2020. Oh, man, that feels gross. That feels gross. Oh, that feels gross, man. I hope you're not right, man. I gotta be honest. I hope he just believes it. I hope he just believes it. Like, that's a level of shamelessness at that point. I understand he's a politician. And as a politician goes, he understands he toes a particular line in order to get a certain demographic of that vote. Meaning, if you're Bernie Sanders and you're running, you still need those Hillary Clinton, cultists, those devotees, to vote for you. Meaning, to some degree, you can't necessarily completely skate and be your own actor. If you want to have a chance in 2020, do you have to toe a particular line? Yeah, you may be right, Eminem. You may be right. It still feels gross. It still feels immensely gross to say it. It feels totally gross. Yeah, it feels gross. It's like you're taking a position against the country. And in taking a position against the country, you're doing it purely for political ends, understanding full well that can rise up into a larger conflict with that nation that's a nuclear-powered nation. A nation, by the way, that you had a Cold War with for like 50 fucking years. It's like, come on. On more than one occasion, the world was almost brought to the brink of destruction in regards to the way that the United States and Russia was interacting with one another. In one case, there was a false missile alarm where if it wasn't for one of the Russians ignoring an order to launch, we would not be sitting here right now. And in the other case, where we're talking about the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, if it wasn't for people who were somewhat smart and willing to compromise, we would not be sitting here right now. And this is the thing that they want to dredge up. And again, understand the reasons that they're doing this. It is vitally important to understand the reasons. They use Russia as a pretext to A, monitor Trump communications, meaning they're looking in on him using the intelligence services or intelligence community. B, using this kind of Russia thing as this kind of red baiting, this kind of McCarthyism to try to put a blunt edge to what they consider to be a populist uprising or a populist push. It worked in the 50s. I had serious reservations about whether it would work today. It's a different political climate, and you have independent media that can keep that torch alive, and meaning it can prevent there only being one funnel of information and forcing everybody through that particular funnel. But also, we don't want to talk about us. We just want to talk about this. So if you can skate into 2018 without really having to have any kind of real autopsy, then you've essentially was able to lose to reality shows, lose all levels of government, and still skate back into power without making any changes at all, purely by leveraging this one particular issue. And fourth, their donors don't want them talking about income inequality, meaning issues of class are completely off the table. If you can't talk about issues of class, even though you have the grossest display of American extravagance that's ever been in that office right now, and you still can't talk about issues of class, then you have to ask the question of why. Are they flagrantly incompetent? Or are they bought? And which one makes more true? Which one is more likely to be true? Now, you can say both are likely to be true, but I suspect they're bought. I suspect when Chuck Schumer came out talking about this better deal and everything else, and that plutocrat with no neck comes out saying, you better shut up about this class stuff. Shut up. And Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, abiding and following the people who essentially pay their and sign their paychecks, fell in line, and they shut the fuck up about class. And instead, Trump and Russia. It's Trump and Russia all the time. Hashtag Mick resistance. Hashtag Mick resistance. My point is, the Russia thing is political gamesmanship. It's not so much that there's a reality to it. There may be a reality to it, but we have no idea what that reality to it actually is. And you have to be honest. Even if you want to say that Vladimir Putin has something to do with this, you're still stuck with this dilemma of why on earth does he have to work with Donald Trump to do it? Meaning, why does he have to actually contact Donald Trump? Hey, I'm going to hack the election, okay? I'm going to hack the election. If you had two people in office, or two people vying for an office, one person was potentially going to cause a nuclear war, and the other person was being somewhat conciliatory towards you, which one would you want in office? Well, of course, you're going to want the one who's conciliatory towards you. But do you need to actually talk to that person? Like, do you need to say, hey, I'm going to hack him on Thursday and I'm going to post this information out? And why would you need to talk to the person? It just doesn't make sense. That's all. Like it's that line of logic. The line of logic doesn't make sense. And I still make this point that the reason they're bringing this up has everything to do with politics and has nothing to do with an actual, oh my God, we're angry about XYZ. It has more to do with we need to find some way to talk about this other stuff and not bring up issues pertaining to us. Trump and Russia 24/7. There's a reason why the overwhelming number of stories on MSNBC is Trump and Russia. They don't want to talk about themselves. Rodney Jackson. Oh, thanks, man. You should give a comment. Give a comment. If you're going to put, if you're going to give super cash, give a comment. I like the comments. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And MN, again, with no comment, but I appreciate it. Thank you for the contribution. I totally appreciate it, guys. Yeah, I totally appreciate it. I totally appreciate it. Who is your God, Bob? Who is your God? Marta K. Oh, Marta. Guys, I really appreciate this. I honestly do. I honestly do. It's immensely appreciated. It's funny. My wife and I were like, this is kind of a part-time job in the amount of time and effort that we put into it. And I gotta be honest, sometimes I am shocked that I do this. Like thinking back to maybe a year and a half ago, would I have ever thought I would have had a YouTube channel? And that's probably is no. Emphatically, no. And I'm still somewhat shocked that I have a following and an audience and all this other stuff. So the contributions are appreciated. They really are. Thank you very much. Rodney Jackson, I would explain my point better if you had a phone line. So I am going to get a phone line. A phone line is going to be one of the things I get. My wife and I were talking about it before I came on today. One of the things we want to do, particularly for patrons, is to have multiple tiers. And one of the tiers has to do with allowing call-ins. I love the idea. We did it once before in the show, and I don't remember why we didn't do it again. But I like the idea. I like the call-ins because you have a point, Rodney. It is easier to explain yourself at the point where you're just talking, as opposed to typing it out X amount of words at a time. Is less than 3 classical music. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I think that's some kind of allegory. I don't know what this is. I like classical music. I don't know what this is. Okay, so I'm going to just say classical music. Thank you very much. And holy shit, Simon and Garfarkle. I like your insight. I like you insight. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Owing Coke for real. It's not on. Well, I don't judge. I don't judge. My feeling is, all drugs should be legal. I don't think you should put people in cages for making a personal choice. So, but, guys, like I said, man, I appreciate all the support that you guys give. Classic music. I really like your commentary. Don't always agree, but you make me think with your thoughtful words. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there's no way I can expect everybody to always agree. I would feel a little weird if everybody did agree. And I gotta be honest, sometimes the debate is one of those things where I think differently about it, if that makes sense. My wife is like, you're often too sure of your opinion. It's not that I'm sure of my opinion at all. I think you have to, some degree, push your opinion. You make a choice. And you try to bolster that by showing people how you got to that point. Like, how did you get to your particular line of thinking and your particular line of logic? And they can take issue with certain steps along the way and stones along the way and all that good stuff. But I try to give somewhat of a thoughtful context to the reasons why I give my take on this stuff, if that makes sense. And even the way I try to look at the surrounding issues associated with it. So, it's what I try to do. I don't always accomplish it. There's some videos I'm like, oh God, that video went horribly. But I do try. So, I appreciate it. Healthy debate is a good way to grow. It's how we arrive at reasonable conclusions. Brahm SL1, that is also true. That is also true. And I gotta be honest, I like my chat. So my chat tends to... people are kind of getting across to me that my chat is not the most normal chat in the world, that you guys are pretty bright. this has been the only chat that I've ever known. So I don't know how other chats are. I can count on one hand the number of chats I've been in regards to chat rooms. So I don't know what's normal in regards to chats. I do know that my audience tends to be pretty goddamn bright. And it could be stuff where I'm like, what is that thing called? What is that thing called? And inevitably somebody's going to have the name for the thing that I myself am thinking about. So, yeah, I love the debates that we have in our audience. Like like there will be conversations that are going back and forth between the commentator and the audience themselves. Like wading into this kind of back and forth where sometimes you guys would agree with me on, sometimes you completely disagree with me on. I like it. I like it. Yeah, it's an open forum. I like it. Bob Ramirez says, toughen up those dainty hands, Jamal. Carry your water to beat back the neoliberalism. Toughen up those dainty hands. I don't have dainty hands. I have crushing mosquitoes in these hands. I'm sorry, Jamal. I'm finally getting a pay raise, and I've been in the NEA for 20 years, and I'm still going to make... You don't have to apologize to me for anything. Look, guys, whether... Of course, donations through Patreon and Super Cash, all those things help, of course. I mean, and like anybody else, I want to grow the channel, and I want to get the channel to a point where it's this kind of self-sufficient thing, where it can be a thing unto itself. So, of course, it helps. But I have no obligation on anybody. I don't have this belief that, if you're watching my videos and you're sharing and you're liking, and I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative, so... This chat room is a master's degree level back and forth. That is funny. I think it's a good thing. I like this idea of I like my audience being open-minded. Like if I'm talking about aliens, or somebody else said you have a weird chat. There can be times where we can be talking about aliens, jump to cannibalism, jump to the ethics of cannibalism, jump back to something like some kind of consciousness stuff, end up on talking about like Me Too, and sex workers. I mean, it's fucking amazing. I love that stuff. I love that stuff. And then 2 from Moni G. That's nice of you, man. That's nice of you. Some of us are self-made dumbasses with no advanced degrees. I don't have an advanced degree, so yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm one of those self-made dumbasses. And like, yeah, I get more likes on your alien vids than politics. People ignore my politics, but everyone likes the aliens. I love the alien thing too, right? I love the alien thing. I think it's one of the most fascinating issues. Like I don't know how people don't ask the question. Like I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me at all that you ever look up at the sky and you're like, we're a ball hurling through the goddamn cosmos. That's what we are. Everything, we look at our environment, we look at our world, all these things feel solid and tangible and everything else. We're a ball hurling through the goddamn cosmos. We can be hit by an asteroid tomorrow. There could be some weird solar phenomena. There could be some, a black hole crossing across the interstellar plane, in which case it rips off the atmosphere or something like that. You can have all sorts of weird astrological phenomena that's associated with this particular world for things that go on out in space. We pretend as if that stuff doesn't exist. We're a ball floating through the goddamn cosmos. Now, we as human beings with modest technology made the decision to go to our celestial neighbor. We choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard. We choose this and the other thing, what he said, because it will be a test of the best of us, or the best of what humanity has to offer. That mind-blowing speech by John F. Kennedy. And goes to the goddamn moon. Goes to the goddamn moon. If us as human beings, with the modest technology of science, has only been a few hundred years, was able to go to our first celestial neighbor, are we to believe that that there's no other life out there? Like that by itself is somewhat of a religious belief. Why would there not be life out there? Life grows in all sorts of adverse conditions. You have life growing in like volcanic pits. Why would there not be life out there? There are more grains of sand on the beaches of Earth, meaning there are more stars in the sky. or there are more stars in our galaxy than grains of sand on the beaches of Earth. Think about that. Like, think about the number that is. Like, that number of galaxies. It's a mind-blowing number. And you're talking about an expanding universe. The question always becomes, okay, expanding in the what? But they don't necessarily pay attention to that question. Nevertheless, it seems odd to me that the question is not asked. Well, if we're doing this, A, why would we expect that there wouldn't be something else? It seems like that would be the most natural thing in the world to just assume, unless otherwise stated for, that there would be something else. And why would we expect that that something else wouldn't necessarily try to go to other celestial neighbors? And if that something else had a 1,000 lead year in technology, let's say it was a 500 year lead in technology, would they have made advances that gave them the capacity of science that we don't fully understand currently? The answer, of course, is yes. The answer, of course, is yes. Would the cavemen who are listening to, cans tied with string ever be able to pick up a cell phone signal? Does the caveman even know what a cell phone signal is? If the caveman got his hands on a cell phone signal and you gave him all the resources in the world, would the caveman be able to figure out what the hell that cell phone does? Of course not. Of course not. Doesn't matter how ingenious he is. He doesn't even have the paradigm for which to make that question or to answer that question or to even have that investigation. He doesn't know what a wave is. He doesn't know what this kind of particle is. He doesn't even know what this kind of propagation of electromagnetic spectrum through airspace. He doesn't have any idea what that stuff is. Doesn't have any idea what it is. Our science has advanced, and as our science has advanced, it's become less and less physical, meaning you had this deterministic view of the world, this kind of clockwork view of the world, and then you have this kind of quantum mechanics that completely undermines this idea of a clockwork view of the world. You have just two competing systems, relativistic system versus this quantum mechanical system of reality. One thing kind of pops in from nothingness, where you have these particles that pops out of nothingness into existence, where this other thing deals with items on big scales, these large gravitational scales. 500 years of science extra. Would another species that wasn't completely engulfed in wars, that wasn't completely spending all of its resources on killing one another, that maybe was put together in a different way, that had a different paradigm of the world, that had a different idea, maybe a cooperative existence as opposed to a competitive existence, if they didn't waste as much as we did, is it possible that they would have come up with a different way of looking at science and a different way of looking at the world, and they would have released information in a different way, allow their society to advance in a different way? Like, all bets are off on this. I guess that's my point. It seems the most natural thing to look up into the sky and wonder if there's anything else out there. If there's anything else, just like us. Maybe not like us at all, but looking at their own sky, wondering the exact same goddamn thing. These beings who are looking at the universe or in physical matter reality and don't know that the other exists, but are looking up at the sky nonetheless and asking the exact same question. Is there something else out there? I think that's a fucking fascinating question. And then you get into, what is that something else? How does something else behave? What is the way that something else thinks? All these, I find this to be a fascinating topic. I find this to be an infinitely fascinating topic. So, all right. So I'm going on a rant with this. Like I said, I loved it. I think the topic is awesome. So, no, the title's not clickbait to mostly young. This was something that somebody brought up. The original topic, if you listen to the beginning of the video, it's this video had nothing to do with UFOs. It just kind of went that way. Oh my God, missed you again. Yeah, but to be fair, I kind of just came on the fly. I came on the fly. I came on the fly sounds so nasty. I don't mean it that way. I don't mean it that way. Well, yeah, and to most of you, you kind of came in towards the end. Yeah, you came in when the audience was kind of asking questions, and the conversation about UFOs comes up, and it's like, hey man, this is clickbait because in the last 1 minute you were talking about UFOs. It's like, come on. Actually, he's an alien. the Russian aliens took over our space station. Hey, for that matter, why don't they just jump the shark and say it's not even a Russian agent? That it's an alien that created a human robot that's being operated by Vladimir Putin, who's working in coordination with the aliens because Russia doesn't have their technology. And so it's not so much that Nunez is a Russian agent. Nunez is a robot from Russia in coordination with aliens that gave Russia the technology and allowed them to hack the election. Bam! I can pull this out of my ass with the best of them. I can pull this out my ass with the best of them. So yeah. There's a guy that calls himself Fly that hangs around here. Holy shit, I think I saw this episode on the X-Files. No, I'm joking. What's his name? Let me show this video again, just so you can see what I'm talking about the most. This was on MSNBC, and I'm going to end it on this one.
Running the House Intel Committee on the Republican side? Is it possible that the Republican chairman of the House Intel Committee has been compromised by the Russians? Is it possible that they actually have a Russian agent running the House Intel Committee on the Republican side?
I hope that's not the case.
I hope that's not the case. You hope that's not the case. But you don't know. You're not sure. You hope that's not the case. I love how this, you know, he's expressing this. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case or not. It's possible the guy's a Russian agent. I don't know. You might be onto something there. You may be onto something there. This guy is potentially a Russian agent. It's fucking amazing. It's fucking amazing. I think that's all kinds of stupid. That's the point I've made. That's the point I made. All right, guys. I am going to end this. This is going for like an hour, and I'm going a little bit over. So, guys, again, I'm going to say this. I don't want to overly repeat myself on this, but I do want to get across. I do appreciate everything that you guys do in regards to support. Whether that's a basic subscription, whether that's liking the video, whether that's sharing a video. I appreciate all of it. So, thank you for your support. It is immensely appreciated. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.